All right, so can everybody see the agenda? Okay, so we're just going to walk through this quickly. I know there's been a lot of confusion about the meeting link, and it's changed a few times. So I'm just kind of pointing out that the link that you use to register for tonight's meeting, that's the last time you're going to use that link. The link that's right here in the agenda is the link you'll use moving forward. And I really think that this is the last time this will change. So that's what you'll use to register moving forward. Just pointing out this light blue box here, it has a lot of our resources in it. Here is a calendar link to if you're doing events or hosting, tabling events, anything of that sort. If you can add them to our calendar, it helps me keep track and be able to report on things. There's a link to our resource page. Here is a link to our training. Rebecca Martin leads our training, and this link will take you to our training, which is mapped out for all of 2026. So we offer training every quarter, so it enables you to plan ahead. So we're very excited to be able to show you that. And then there's links here to become an official local group or affiliate. If we scroll down on the agenda, I just want to emphasize, for those of you that don't know, we wrote a book and we're super excited about it. Judith Enck, our president and founder, Beyond Plastics, co-wrote it with Adam Mahoney, as well as the staff of Beyond Plastics. So the book is The Problem with Plastic, How We Can Save Ourselves and Our Planet Before It's Too Late. It comes out, the official release date is December 2nd. If you lead one of our local groups or affiliates, you receive a free book. So this is kind of last call for your mailing address. There's a form right here. There's a link in this agenda. You can put your mailing address in there, and then I will mail out your book to you. We are encouraging folks to have house parties in January, kind of a great way to kick off the new year around the book so that you can get together with your friends and neighbors and really just start talking about how you can take action on plastic pollution. I'm going to encourage you, if you do that, to please share photos and key takeaways with me. So my email address is here. And we want to be able to share it on social media. We want to be able to put it in our newsletter and kind of share it with others. So if you decide to do that, please share it with me. There's also a toolkit that we've created. There's a link here to the toolkit, as well as there's discussion questions if you decide to get together and host a book party. So that information is all in the agenda. I'm going to skip over Beyond Plastics Network for a minute and just talk about some of our other resources here. We touched on this new report here, Follow the Money. Last week, Alexis went through it in detail. It's really a report that we did a deep dive on the financing of people that were opposing and are opposing our Packaging Reduction and Recycling Infrastructure Act in New York. That's a great read, and there's a toolkit here if you'd like to share it. And then I want to point out two new tools. One is a pocket guide to plastics. There is not a link here to that because it's in the final stages of being approved. Once it is, I will send it out to all of you. It will be a living document of plastic pollution facts that are curated by the team at Beyond Plastics, and most importantly, our scientist, Tricia. So it'll give you a lot of quick facts at your fingertips that are current and all the citations of where we pulled that information from. So that should be really helpful to many. And then the other tool I wanted to point out is this campaign guide. And so this guide that I'll share with you is something that Rebecca created for our grassroots advocacy training. And it's a tool that was shared this past October. So this is a great checklist for you to help organize your campaign, kind of a guide to follow with links that you can see that link back to information on our website It kind of gives you a really great roadmap to follow. And then the last kind of tools here are the fact sheets that are new. Here is one on plastic bottle caps being tethered to the bottle. We also have a building materials fact sheet that is fairly new, and microplastics infiltrating the human brain. Again, all of these are in the agenda, links for you to use as you see fit. Wanted to point out a highlight from one of our affiliates in Cleveland Heights, their green team. They got some great press around Skip the Stuff. So that link is there for you. And then there's a bunch of articles down there for you to look at your leisure. I'm going to jump now into the Beyond Plastics Network, and I'm going to share my screen and just go through a couple really quick slides. We're basically looking at expanding the work that we're doing and expanding the network. And so I think the visuals of the slides will just give you a better sense of kind of what we're thinking. So, whoops, let me go back to the beginning. Here's the quick version, backwards. Okay, so when we began this movement, we started by building a strong foundation, and that was really with local groups and affiliates. And now we're looking to expand our outreach through the Beyond Plastics Network. So the network is designed for everyone asking, really, how do I start to take action? And it's your gateway to getting involved, connecting with others, and helping to drive real change against fighting plastic pollution. So this network emphasizes the power of connection across 5 volunteer groups, and the framework is grounded in ongoing collaboration where information, strategy, and energy flow freely between all groups. So here's what the network looks like. It's 5 volunteer groups that include local groups, affiliates, advocates and organizers, community partners, and the Speakers Bureau. So the network is designed as an on-ramp to action, making it easy for you to get involved in ways that match your interest and your skills and your capacity. So the idea here is that volunteers can move fluidly across roles. So for example, you might start as a speaker or an advocate, and if you're ready to take on more, grow into a local group leader or a policy organizer. So I'm going to touch on each one really briefly. We'll start with local groups and affiliates, which I manage as the National Community Engagement Director. We have 39 local groups across the country, and every group is identified by their town or city. And most of you know that a Beyond Plastics local group is you and 2 other people who want to end plastic pollution where you live. So you can work with friends, neighbors, colleagues, and we can also help you with outreach to find people to join. So really just quick plug here for Eileen Ryan. She leads Beyond Plastics Greater Boston. I love to show this. She's tabling here in September of this year because she has so many great tabling ideas, and she's a complete rock star. But if you want to make it official to become a local group, you complete our grassroots training, which we offer quarterly, and then you agree with our purpose, principles, and core messages, as well as our policy positions. And then you fill out this form here that you see on our website, and then you schedule time to meet with me and we talk about next steps. Affiliates, we have 144. And on the right, you can see logos of our affiliates across the country. So what is an affiliate? Well, it's an organization that you're already a part of and that you're aligned with our goal of ending plastic pollution, and you're able and ready to make that a priority in your organization. You remain independent and self-directed, and again, you agree with our purpose, our principles, core messages, and our policy positions. So if you lead a nonprofit group working on plastics, or say you just want to start a plastic reduction group within that organization, you simply fill out this form online, Taking our grassroots training is not required to affiliate. And then once you fill out the form, I'll reply with your logos, you get on our map, and then we plug you into our resources. The third way to join the network is as an independent advocate and organizer. So these are individuals who are not part of a formal local group or affiliate, but they have a meaningful place in our network. So they have access to tools, training, and support to amplify their efforts. And this pathway also serves as a way to grow our movement by inviting others to take action in their own communities. So this photo is our advocates and organizers working hard to get the Packaging Reduction, Recycling, and Infrastructure Act passed in New York. It's our EPR bill, and Alexis leads this group. Next is our volunteer speakers. So they play a key role in educating the public, policymakers, and organizations about the harms of plastic pollution and the need for systemic change. So speakers are equipped with up-to-date, peer-reviewed materials so they can confidently present on plastic pollution and counter industry misinformation. So this is a fantastic way to join the network if you love presenting, meeting new people, and sharing your knowledge, or if you want to build confidence speaking with your local elected officials about plastic pollution. Currently, there's 17 speakers, and Rebecca Martin, who's here tonight, leads this terrific program. Lastly, our community partners are organizations that are working on, supporting, or exploring ways to reduce plastic pollution in their communities. So with our community partners, we aim to build reciprocal, long-term relationships grounded in trust and shared purpose, so that when opportunities arise, we can mobilize together effectively. So we focus on identifying how our work intersects. So it could be soil, air, water, or other environmental issues, and finding those connection points where we can collaborate and strengthen each other's efforts. Community partners collaborate with us on shared goals and projects without formally affiliating. So as all of you know, we hold monthly meetings for folks. So we're opening up our meetings to all of these 5 different volunteer groups, and we'll be rolling out a new agenda and format for our monthly meetings in January, along with an ongoing calendar or a calendar for ongoing education. So if you have questions about the network, please reach out to me. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Hi, look, all these people came. I didn't see you come. It's nice to see everyone. So before we jump into the kind of heart of the meeting where people are sharing what they're working on, are there questions about the network? Okay, all right. So let's kick it off. I don't think we need to break out into a breakout room at this point. Who wants to start and kind of share what they're working on, or share any wins or challenges that they're running into? I'm here to just help facilitate. You can take yourself off mute and just.
Guess I'll go.
Oh, hi,
Hi,
Trish.
Suzette. So I just was working with a Bay Area Reuse Coalition. I'm in Santa Cruz, so we're kind of the county next door. But they were doing a series of films, screenings of We Are All Plastic People Now. And I really tried to get a venue in Santa Cruz, and I couldn't. I didn't realize how hard that was going to be. I mean, I knew, but like I couldn't get these places to even call me back. So I kind of just supported their events. And I have a cousin that's in Oakland, California. So I dove in and supported the Oakland event, but it was really amazing. Lot of people there that, they have a lot of foodware reuse ordinances in those cities. I think Berkeley started, and then Oakland and Marin. And I mean, I have to get the list. I didn't even know that until I was there. and I was at the postcard table and they had these cute little postcards that said serve up reuse. Oops, it's like my camera doesn't want to, maybe I'm blurred background. Anyway, it says serve up reuse. And we helped them figure out who their representatives were to write a postcard. If they didn't have an ordinance, then asking them to do so, or if they already had one, asking it to be enforced, because it's not always enforced. But
Right.
I wish I lived in a city where I didn't have to eat off of trash. So that's all I will say.
Yeah.
It was
Hey,
just good to be
Trish,
a part.
did they give you any tips?
So I've supported film festivals before, but I never had to get the venue. I didn't realize what a pain that was. But um in terms of so this coalition is kind of being led by Miriam Gordon with Story of Stuff. So she was kind of the mastermind behind the whole thing. And so that was interesting to participate with all of these great San Francisco and Alameda coalitions, or, reuse organizations. And I think for us, Waste Free, I'm part of Waste Free Santa Cruz, and we are an affiliate of Beyond Plastics. And we really tried to work on the reuse foodware issue first, and it just was too big. And so we did a bring your own coffee cup campaign last year, which I think I shared before, but we're trying to figure out what's next. So it kind of revived that idea. Now Miriam is putting me in touch with Californians Against Waste, which I knew them, but I didn't really understand how they could help. But just in terms of California law and where we stand, and kind of not pitting us against, but like looking at the success in other cities in California and figure out how we can follow their lead and all that.
Sounds wonderful. It sounds like I think we talk a lot about how do you find your people and how do you find other people that are already working on this to help join forces and learn from whatever they've done before you. So it sounds like a great connection that you've made.
Yeah, and that's why I join your call, because it always, all these ideas that come out, they're always great and helpful. So thank you, Suzette.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Trish, I have a question. May I ask
Yeah.
just a follow-up for Trish? Um, so it's my first call. You might have talked about this before, but were you trying to find a location for a screening for a film that's in a film festival, or
No,
or
just
just in general?
yeah, so I was reaching out to kind of the smaller venues in Santa Cruz,
Hmm?
and nobody returned calls, emails, I felt like a stalker.
Trish,
And
have you ever tried the library network?
oh, yeah,
You know what's nice about public libraries is they always are looking for um, opportunities programming. There's always parking. It's ADA compliant. It's usually in a location that's really central for people. Well, if you're in
yeah,
a
no, that's a
village or
really
a
good
town.
tip.
And, it's they do promotion too. And just for the future, when you're getting ready to bring your elected officials together or to help to talk about a piece of legislation, libraries are really, really helpful and they're free.
That's what I'm talking about. This is so helpful because I didn't think about that. We did a fun collaboration with the city of Santa Cruz for Plastic Free July, and they gave us like
Yep.
this section behind glass, so there was all these things,
Yeah,
but
I
I
mean,
didn't think of them for a screening.
yeah, and also there's a network. So you could actually look at the network. Like, you get a library card and you can use them at different libraries in your area or region. Well, you could do the same with your showings. You could sort of plug into the network. So you could do a big hit. And good. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, thanks. Because one of the events was in Los Altos. I think it was at a community center. One was at Sports Basement in San Francisco because they offer their space for these kinds of things. And one was in the real, like, small venue. It was called the New Parkway Theater in Oakland, and it was very cool. Instead of like regular seats, they had couches, layers of couches. So it was fun, but yeah, getting the venue was challenging in all the cities.
So
Well,
Trish, I'm
thanks for
gonna
that.
give you kind of a heads up next year. So this gives you some lead time to work on venue stuff, but in probably April and May, there'll be a film coming out about plastics and health. And we can't talk about it until it's officially out and released, but we'll be looking for people to host that where they can around the country. And from what I'm hearing, it should be pretty amazing and impactful. So we've got a runway of time for all of us to find areas that people are willing to host some films. And this could be a real boost for the movement as people really start to understand all the impacts of plastic.
That's great. I hope they get it sort of around Earth Day or right after, because like when people are thinking about that, you kind of can bring in the people that don't think about it every day like we do.
Yeah, yeah, it should be before. So it should
That
be
would be
out
great.
before, but I don't really have anything to do with the
Thanks for
timing, but
telling
from,
me because
yeah,
I will keep, because then I finally did get a contact at one of these theaters, but it was too late. There was only a small budget for these three, you know,
right.
film screenings and there was no more money. So then not only would I have to do all that legwork, I'd have to find sponsors. And I just thought, I'm just gonna put my energy into one of the existing events. And it was still impactful and amazing. So good tip though. I would love to do that in Santa Cruz in April.
Yeah, so we'll stay in touch. Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. All right, who else would like to share?
I was wondering where's the forum for um adding advocates and organizers?
Adding it to the network.
Yeah.
So we don't have a form to add advocates and organizers. So at this point, we're welcoming them into our monthly meetings and welcoming them into the network to connect them with all of you, connect them with tools, and help build group support in whatever area of the country that they're in. Does that make sense?
I thought you put up something where you could fill out.
I put up something for our local groups and affiliates, so I'll drop that into the chat.
Suzette, I wonder if the way for local groups, I mean individuals, is just our mailing list and being able to say where you're located and if there's a note what you're interested in so that you can be contacted when there's something in your area that
Right.
promoting for you to engage on. Where are you located?
I'm in Massachusetts.
Oh yeah.
But
Maybe
actually, maybe I got it wrong. I thought the advocates and organizers was the place for, oh, maybe I'm looking at the wrong category. I'm thinking about I'm in a group that's doing some pretty active work, and I don't know if they're affiliated with Beyond. I mean, I talk to them all the time about Beyond Plastics, but I don't know if they are actually have connected up with your network yet.
Yeah, so the link I dropped in the chat is for exactly that purpose, an organization that already exists that could affiliate with us.
Okay,
And
that's the
then
one.
Susan, I can send you a list. I'll also put a link in the chat too of all of our affiliates where you can look at a list and see if you see the name of the organization.
Okay. Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Don Hamp. I'm a member, co-lead of ReducePlasticsPA.org. So I'll say just a few words about that. I know Suzette is very familiar with our organization as well. So we started 7 years ago as a coalition of just a few municipalities around Philadelphia to try to get single-use plastic bag, retail bags, ordinances in place. This coalition recognizes that we most likely will not have in a short term, have a statewide ban on retail bags. Even though if you look, New Jersey, New York, Delaware, all our neighbors do, except for Ohio does. So our goal, we're trying to be laser focused on just retail bags. Although straws, utensils are sometimes drift into those areas as well. But the focus is to try to get local ordinances. So we meet every other month. We have about 50 municipalities. There are 2,100 municipalities in Pennsylvania. So if you look at the state, you have Pittsburgh at one end and Philadelphia at the other end. Both have ordinances for single-use plastic bags. A few other, about 40 other municipalities also. We're trying to get that to over 50%, where we can start to leverage, try to get a statewide ban. Pennsylvania is kind of unique in this home rule. You can't really have county ordinances. You have to work towards local ordinances. So we have, I want to call SWAT teams. They're just individuals who are working towards, we track how many municipalities have ordinances, and we try to provide resources, a guidebook, meetings, sample education, sample ordinances. We have experts with Penn Environment and other connections again, to try to get as many local ordinances passed as possible, as quickly as possible. So that's a brief overview of where we are. So thanks, Suzette. So.
Yeah, I put your website in the chat. Don's downplaying a little bit about the impact that he's had in Pennsylvania, especially Southeast PA, and all the ordinances that have been passed for bags there. If you're looking to do any of that work, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. Literally, pretty much everything you need is on Don's website. There, from surveys to sample ordinances to PowerPoint presentations, I mean, you name it, it's there. So he is an unbelievable resource. And Don, one thing that I will share with you in my conversations with groups across the country, New Jersey has had this amazing success passing skip the stuff laws. So right now they're up to 30 from what I hear, and they're about to take it, at a state level. And one of the ways that they expanded their reach was through Girl Scout and Boy Scout troops. So they started contacting Girl Scout and Boy Scout troops in areas where they didn't have people working on Skip the Stuff, and it became a scout project, like where they earned a badge and whatnot. And that's how they started to spread their efforts across the state, which I found amazing. And you said, and you educated the youth through the process, and then they helped really pull other people into that work, and they've had great success with it.
That's a fantastic idea. We definitely, we've had some university support and some high schools, as many of you also have taken advantage of, but not the Scouts. So that's something I'll be looking forward to talking to you some more about.
Who else would like to share what they're working on, or any challenges that they have that they want to talk to the group about?
I have a question as well as a progress report. You talked to us a little while ago about a local coalition, and we're building that. But what we're finding is that reuse and circular economy and plastics are all becoming intertwined. And it's somewhat reduces our focus because we're trying to do all these things at once. And I'm wondering if other people are running into that. The impetus seems to be on happening more with reuse, even though we have a skip.
That's a really good, and we grapple with that every year. I mean, there are so many in the world, so many environmental challenges. It's just tempting to look at all sorts of things, right? And we've had to constantly based on the resources we have. And we have lean times and rich times, right? We said no, we focus on a single type of ordinance, a single type of plastics, and work from there. I agree with you. It's the whole sustainability reuse is kind of has been weaponized in some ways to try to reduce plastic control, as many of you know. So
yeah, it's not so much that as it is we seem to have, because Tucson has a city plan they just passed, a roadmap, and they're starting to do the new implementation on it, a new iteration of it. We're looking at perhaps we can go into circular economy for energy and water and then add plastics as we go. Or we still have our Beyond Plastics effort, that we skip the stuff effort that we're just starting right now. I think we have enough people to do both, but it seems that we're building a network, and more of the people in the network seem to be concerned about the cost of energy and water. And water is a particular issue here. And plastics feeds into that water as well because it uses a lot of water in the production and in the washing of the reusables, etc. So I'm just, it's opportunities and problems at the same time, I guess.
Stephen, a question about plastics being a part of the circularity conversation. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, we're still trying to figure out, I have the company that uses reusable plastics for restaurants. And we've paused because we don't want to use plastic and we want to go to stainless. But I'm also looking at the fact that, well, maybe we don't live in a perfect world. There is a lot of green chemistry going on to try and microbially digest plastics down to singular monomers, which then are biodegradable. They haven't gotten there yet, and I have my reservations about it because it, in a sense, promotes the production of more plastic, which I want reduction to be the main focus. But in terms of circularity, plastic is the least circular, but it's not, it seems to be part of the conversation because it's so ubiquitous. So I think we're trying to work on reuse in terms of circularity and feed it into energy and water issues locally. But we have to deal with plastic too. And reuse seems to be the first step toward reduction. Although I still have my doubts about how it's going to ultimately reduce it enough. But just my comments, I guess.
Yeah, I will just add two things. Hi, Alexis. I'll just add two things quick. One, we grapple with the same thing internally. So we've had internal conversations about speaking with groups that are looking to switch organizations, retirement communities, whatever it may be, from single-use plastic to reusable plastic. And I think where we've landed, at least for now, is kind of the same place you have, which is we don't want people using plastic, but stainless is not affordable for many organizations or communities to use at this point. And so is it better to have reusable plastic than single use? I think our answer is yes. It's not ideal, but yes. But then can we communicate and make sure that people understand that there are health implications of heating and in plastic and people taking meals and heating them up in plastic? So trying to make sure that we're educating as well, but not discouraging the step to reduce the single-use plastic waste. So it's a hard thing to grapple. And it's interesting because, there's a company called Useful that does work with college campuses on reusable, and it's stainless, and it's wonderful. Their model hasn't been working for smaller communities because it's not economical. But my colleague out in California just sent an email tonight saying there was a retirement community in a rather affluent area in California that is doing a pilot with them in a retirement community with their stainless reusable. So who knows? Hopefully companies like that will expand into working in smaller communities. So that's always a possibility. And then the other thing I'll just throw out there is Judith Enck, our president and founder, was recently at a conference in California with a bunch of people that were kind of on cutting edge work. And one of the companies, some of you may have heard of it, is Notpla, Notpla. And she had a long conversation with the founders of that organization because I've been following them for a while, and it's kind of like, are they the real deal or not? And it's about, they create linings for the insides of food packaging that is not full of harmful chemicals and is clean in terms of there is no negative impact to your health. So my question to her was, do you really think it's the real deal? And she thought it seemed yes, like it was. They were getting asked a lot of hard questions, and they are scaling. So if you go to their website, it's pretty amazing the work that they're doing. So I guess to me, that sends a signal that we are finding solutions, whether we get to the place, how long will it take to get to the place where everyone can afford them? I don't know. But there are viable possible solutions out there. Susan, you're shaking your head. Sounds like you've.
Well, I had just written to the listserv asking about if anybody knew anything about whether they were legit, because I was trying to look into that. I have a science background, and so I'm always looking at the details of these materials. And I think that was one that was seaweed based, isn't it?
Yes.
And it actually looked really promising, but
Yeah.
there have been so many false solutions.
Yes.
Now where people make claims and then you dig
Yes.
and you find out that the claims aren't really what they say they are when you really kind of dig into the details. But it looked really good. So I'm excited to hear that Judith was feeling positive about it, because I'm kind of, wondering, tiptoeing around, like wondering if I can recommend this to people. So that's
Yeah.
great
I
news.
felt the same way. And I was like kind of doing backflips when Judith said, yeah, I think they're the real deal. I was like, oh my gosh, there's one, right? There's one out there.
Yeah, just a next comment is on your reusable stainless. Actually, long term, it's just as affordable as plastic. It's just the initial investment. And one of the things I've thought about, if people really are serious about, if a city gets serious about it, and I've approached the Tucson people with this, and they haven't gotten back to me yet on it, is an initial grant that could be repaid at zero interest to buy the containers initially. The washing of the containers is no different in terms of cost than the plastic. And the stainless, the double-walled stainless with the vacuum in them, so that they hold the heat inside and don't transmit it across the wall. They're more expensive, but they will last a long time. And after about 50 uses, you get your return on investment.
I was just going to say, Stephen, that I live in a very small town, and I've been trying to convince the businesses here who want to do sustainable stuff. The question is, what are the options for them? And one of the problems that I've just run into, they just told me that many of the little coffee shops and stuff don't have appropriate dishwashers for reusable.
Yeah, we supply the dishwashing with our.
But they have to have space for. Oh, you supply it off-site?
Yes.
Oh, that's great. Okay, that's a good. I like that.
Well, it's great, but it's limiting. When we had a retirement home lined up, we're going to do many thousands of containers at once. But the dishwashing facility we had is not big enough, and there are no others in town. I contacted Reuse in Phoenix, and they're willing to ship the containers back and forth, but then the cost gets a little prohibitive because they have a facility, and they're not going to open up a facility in Tucson yet. So, but anyway, that's a logistical thing.
Anybody else have anything to share or talk about?
I'll just echo the comment about not having washing facilities. That's also an issue for Santa Cruz because during COVID, they kind of just moved towards disposable, and then made use of that space in other ways, and now they don't want to go back, and we don't have any funding or grants. I did write down your idea about zero interest, possibilities. Is it Stephen or Stefan? Sorry, Stephen?
Steven,
Stephen, I think that's a great option. And then also just opening a wash hub in this area, because we have organizations that I'm in contact with, like Ecology Action and Environmental Innovations and like Community Foundation. Like, can we all figure this out? Can we figure out how to start a wash hub together,
Well,
or who can support
Wash
that?
Hub is a pretty hefty investment. You're
I know,
talking,
yeah.
yeah, you're talking $500,000 to $1 million up front to build the facility and get it up and running.
That's why I was thinking it would take multiple organizations, because we
Yeah,
have
you have to have a
the
bunch of people.
county of Santa Cruz and the city, but then we have all of these nonprofits and for-profit companies that are involved. And so it's like, how can we make this happen?
Well, one of the entries we found for reuse is schools, and they all used to have reusable crockery and utensils, and they got talked out of it, and now they don't have those facilities anymore. But the space is still there, and so we had some feelings with meetings with TUSD and Catalina Foothills to try and see if they were interested as school districts in approaching this. TUSD has put in uh, a long-term climate plan developed by a high school student, actually, who now has become a big advocate, and we hope he goes on politically. But they are interested, and I think that's a place that could start with it, and then it could spread from there. Once you get the kids, and the kids are interested in this, they want to do it. They want to get away from plastic. They understand it. And it's the political levers that need to be pulled. And once you get the kids on board, maybe you get the school board on board and go from there. And makes it, once it's institutionalized and becomes more public, I think that's a way to approach it. But it
Mhm.
takes a while. Political levers are slow to move.
Even the schools used to have dishwashers too. I wonder, you know, in whatever case you're in Arizona, wherever folks are, whether or not those the who knows if they work, but if they're no longer using them, if the equipment is still available, if it's still there,
Oh, in most places,
big
the
question.
equipment's gone.
It's gone.
It was sold off.
Mhm.
Yeah.
One other thing that occurs to me that's a little left of center, but I really love how the reusable stores where you go and you bring your containers and you fill things up, how they have jars and things that are available, and in some cases they're small. I realize, but I was thinking about that whole I don't know, just that whole constituency of people who are working in that capacity and whether or not there's some capacity when you talk about bringing folks together and funding and et cetera, if those types of businesses would be useful to
Yeah, we
connect.
have several of them in Tucson that do the returnable containers, food co-ops, a
Mhm.
couple of them, and then we have a
Exactly.
reuse store. Scale is a problem, and the
Right.
heterogeneity of the containers is a
Yeah.
problem. So,
Make it
for
very
example,
hyper-local, grassroots, but it may
yeah,
not be a thing. But it
yeah.
might, no.
Well, I think eventually it will be. Eventually, that's the only way you get a true change is the grassroots gets over a certain percentage, and then it becomes mainstream. But it's hard for any individual organization to do it on scale. And it's hard to network because everybody's time is short. They're involved in running a business and that takes up most of their time. So it's not an easy problem to solve, but it definitely is the way to go.
I actually just had a meeting today with someone because I do a lot of work with trying to get into schools in Missouri and shift them over to reusable things and less plastic. And the person that I met with, she brought up that in the St. Louis region, she had tried to get washing, like there's Bold Reuse is a company that has dishwashing services. Like they do a lot of work with stadiums, and so they're usually plastic, but they'll take like the reusable plastic cups from the stadium, wash them, and then return them. And that's not who she was working with, but there's another group, and she said the biggest thing for them and the reason that the company backed out of not like just starting a new place there, like starting a new facility in St. Louis is not like fundraising so much as knowing they're going to turn a profit. So knowing that enough schools or enough other organizations would use their service. And it just like whatever their metric of however many they wanted, they didn't meet that mark. And to her, she said that was the biggest thing. If you go the company route and like contact these companies, see if there's one in your state that already exists and be like, would you open another facility in my city? And she said for her the biggest factor and what held them back was how many customers can you show they're gonna get from the beginning?
Yeah, and they want to know that up front. They don't want
Mhm.
to develop that customer base. So Boulder
Yeah.
Reuse is who I talked to, and they have a washing facility in Phoenix. And that's why we were trying to work out a truck going back and forth. And they were talking about a truck, a small truck filled twice a week was what they would need. So that comes out to about 5 to 10,000 containers, which is probably doable for most school districts in a moderate sized city. But for a small city, it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess this is a totally different thing, but I'll just drop a link in the chat. It's not actually an active thing, but just so you can see the name. This past Saturday, I watched the live stream of a TEDx Great Pacific Garbage Patch live stream, and and just in case no one's heard of it yet, this is the first time I've watched it, and it was really good. It was like 7 hours long, and I was like, yay, I can't wait to do this for 7 hours. And then they're gonna post some of the videos later, but I accidentally just watched the whole thing because I like, couldn't stop watching it. So they have, sections where you feel very sad about the animals in plastic. You feel afraid of the plastic in your health. But then it gets into like social justice and solutions. So all the usual segments. But I just wanted to share this year's link so that, like next year when this happens again, it's an annual event that maybe it could be on your radar if it wasn't yet, because I definitely want to share it more this time to tell people more about that because it was really great to see. And you can
Thank
just
you for sharing that.
live stream it for free from anywhere. And eventually they will said they're gonna post the the segments. I don't know where exactly, but
Hey, Story, there's a question in the chat for you. What are the main points or ways you use to effectively convince schools to change to the reusables?
well, it would be hypothetical because I haven't done it yet. But I am aiming for one is you need a teacher to advocate for you. So it's getting into the school and having that advocate teacher that you find who will root for you and be a voice in the system. And then two, what I have heard from other people is it really depends on the place. So, like the dishwashing, lack of dishwashing equipment, and lack of cafeteria staff. The amount of people working in the cafeteria is so low these days. A lot of schools are also using food services to deliver food, so they're not cooking on campus, so they have even fewer staff. And so that's a big hurdle. But something I'm looking forward to is with my meeting today from someone who has tried to get this going for a year longer than me because I've really just started this year. She said that sometimes going to a rural school can be a good one because there's a lower student body, so less intimidating than like we need to fix your district that has several elementary schools and everything. So it's just they're a smaller system, and sometimes rural places cannot get recycling to happen in their school. And for schools, sometimes they're like, we're already recycling. we're doing our part. And you can kind of like cash in on the misconception for rural schools and be like, so since you can't recycle and you can't do anything for waste reduction, why not do reuse instead? So sometimes they have less waste reduction already in motion, and so they're more open to hearing people talk about it because they haven't been approached before. Um, but yeah, definitely. Um, I mean,
One
this
of,
is actually my job, so I get to spend a lot of hours doing this stuff, but getting in front of the schools and in front of the teachers and going to the teacher conferences and things like that to pitch like how important it is to the students from like a student agency, student participation and learning standpoint, and then also getting the kids on board with doing an audit at their school so they get to see the trash they make in one day, and that can help the kids and the teachers come to terms with their situation, and then hopefully we can do a plastic free lunch day where there's just one day out of the year we go plastic free. And then it's to show you like that possibility. And then I can eventually then hopefully have enough people in that school working with me that I can go to admin and the school board and we can talk about like if you start this year, here are the subsidies available, here are grants available, this is when you could break even and you will end up saving money on your by reusing. So it's really like little step by little step. But I mean, if they make progress, they make progress. And I feel like that's kind of the only way with schools. And definitely the in, you need an in with a specific person at the school.
Story, do you have a farm or a garden to table program in any of the schools in the St. Louis area?
I don't, well, I work statewide actually, which is also making it a little tricky to where I don't know any one city super well.
Ah, okay.
I
This is
don't
something,
know because
this is
they have,
something that's, this
yeah.
is something that's getting traction,
Mm-hmm,
is students having their own gardens and
mm-hmm,
then taking that produce and actually learning how to cook it. And they get celebrity chefs or local chefs to come in and help them out with it. And that also then almost directly feeds into cutting out all the middlemen that are putting plastic
mm-hmm.
into the system. So
Yeah,
you might want to look into it. You're probably I would say basically go to Columbia and see what the university has with their extension program to see if they have the farm to table type thing for
yeah.
schools.
Yeah, I know there's a lot like school gardens are growing and they're
Yeah.
getting bigger here, but I don't know about farm to table. I've not looked at that.
Well, farm table
Yeah,
garden
like
to
it's a
cafeteria, it's all kind of the
on-ramp.
same thing.
Yeah.
But what it does is it builds the idea of not only having healthy food, but you're cutting out all of these steps that generate plastic. And usually, because it's done on a small basis for each school, and you're preparing it there, you're doing the washing there too. So you can use stuff that's reusable easier.
Story, have you had any luck mapping out the PTOs or PTAs?
I
Parent
have,
groups that are might be helpful in terms of the
yeah.
grassroots approach.
I reached out to like the statewide PTA and we'll be getting back to them mid-month because they were like organizing their big conference. So they're like, we'd love to talk, but not yet. So um I'll check back in with them, but only at the like the big state level. I haven't gone locally yet, or honestly like don't even know how I would find local PTAs. Do you know if there's a maybe they have websites? I don't haven't looked into this yet, but
It varies. My
okay.
experience has been in New York State. I can only speak for that. But if you look up districts, school districts, you can typically find there might be, many schools within the district, and each PTO or PTA depends. The association versus the organization are really just one is very localized, the other is tapped into the network, like the associations versus the organizations. Um, but they're very much like municipal websites.
Yeah.
So, but they are, you can find them if there are areas that are big cities, for example, within your state, just to see if there's a way of being strategic about it and looking at the areas that you think would be the most compelling and maybe amenable. You can start that way. You could, in other words.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you're focusing your organization, which is basically Bird Observatory, right?
It is. We're
It's,
doing
it's
yeah,
interesting
like
they're focusing on this.
yeah, and it's a we have a 3-year grant to do a project to try to reduce plastic use across Missouri. So we're trying to like get some more groups on the Beyond Plastics network and work with schools and things like that. But it's one of the top ways to protect birds is to reduce your plastic use. And we also work with a group called Stream Teams United. So obviously river health is tied up with plastic too. So it's our group project until the end of 2027, and then
Well,
hopefully
that's great.
longer. We'll see.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Pretty amazing, the tie-in, right? There's so many different ways you can enter into this work. So Story, thanks so much for sharing all of your work, and we will look forward to hearing updates about how it's going.
If you'd like to hear, I had my first, went to 3 classes today, so my first in-school programs with kids, and I think my favorite takeaway is one of the kids' comments, like, I had a slide that's like plastic is and like the 3 big things I wanted them to take away from, and then we talked about like single use, and I was like, so most plastic is single use. I would say harmful. How would you fill in the blank? And they like get to say whatever words, and eventually I would spin it to like fill in the blank with it's not our only option, and we talked about how they could change things at their school. But I think my favorite one is one kid went, I would say plastic equals stupid. So that was just a fun, like, you get to say it. Thank you. Thank you for speaking the truth. You got it.
Good job. Message delivered and received. That's great.
Can I ask a question that this I may not be the right place for it, but it's something I've come across, and I just wonder if Beyond Plastics has dealt with this or other people, which is that I was working volunteering at a food bank, and they were when I first joined, there was somebody who the kitchen manager was very environmentally aware, and we would like the food, we had to package it in plastic, and in fact black plastic, and I was like really cringing on that, but all the food would come out of the oven and then they'd blow fans on it to cool it off before they put it into the black plastic. Then a new kitchen manager came in and she said, oh no, you can't do that, ServSafe says it has to go in hot. And I was like, no, you don't want to put that hot food into the plastic. Can we cool it? She goes, no, it ServSafe says you have to do it. So she was saying it was like a sanitation requirement that the food be really hot when you put it into the storage containers or when you put it onto anything. Has anybody else come across this or figured out how to work around that?
This is a food code problem. Upstream is working on that.
Are they?
And yeah,
Okay.
so the food codes are designed for contaminants that are biological in origin,
Mhm.
not contaminants from materials. And I'm trying to get that added here in Arizona through the back door by testing the plastic containers to see what contaminants come off of it, including the microplastics. I don't know yet if I've got that grant or not. They're very slow in getting back. But until there's some sort of evidence of standards, it's not going to get into the food code. And ServSafe then is sort of enforcing the food code that's there. And unfortunately, it's an institutional blockage. It's hard to get around.
Okay,
That's a
thanks.
tough one. Anyone else who hasn't shared anything?
You know, I feel like with all the, I mean, just following up on that, I feel like with all the movies we see about all the contaminants going, people being, you know, there's just so many things about food in contact with plastic in like documentaries and things like that. And I feel like there's some medical people and science researchers who are aware of these problems. So, Stephen, I guess what you're saying is there has not been enough evidence to incorporate that into what's considered safe sanitary practice?
No, there's evidence that the plastics are harmful, but not evidence that it needs to be addressed by the food code. I don't know how to explain it much better than the food codes are very institutionalized and they are 40 years old in their outlook.
Mhm.
Even the new food codes are still kind of following the old food codes. They have a reuse provision in the new version, but it's still not in most state codes. Most states are using stuff that's 5 to 10 years old, their food codes. And without a standard, they're not going to do it. So what I'm trying to do with my project is to develop a standard that says here is what the level is, here's what is medically a problem, and establish it. Then you could establish a code around a standard. But it's going to take me several years to do that. I'm putting something in the chat about a company getting away from food plastics to packaging plastics. There's a company called Bata. I'm putting it in the chat that uses a flexible cardboard paper linings for boxes that you can put fragile things in very easily. It's completely recyclable.
Thank you, Stephen. All right, are we about wrapping up? Don't want anybody to feel like there's something to say and didn't get a chance to do so, but we'll give last call.
I'm looking for that page, Bada Packaging Company. Do you know where they're located? Stephen? By chance?
Stephen, you're on mute.
Oh, I think I found them. Are they Italian?
They may be Italian. That they have something in the U.S. though. Hang on.
Okay, yeah. No, I think that's great. It struck a nerve because I'm here in, an agricultural growing area and we have Driscoll's berries, within 35 minutes of me, and they are probably the biggest polluter of those
Oh
clamshell.
yeah, yeah.
And I've written them several times, and ironically, there is a company in the same city as them, Watsonville, called it's called Sombrero. And they have a product called Ready Cycle, which is a cardboard berry holder, completely recyclable, and they don't use it. So I don't buy Driscoll's berries.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're going to have to actually probably call them to find out who their distributor is.
Yeah, no, I'll check it out because I love knowing about these different products and kind of keep a list, and I don't know.
I gave this to our local national park store because they were very concerned about it. They do a lot of gift packaging,
Mm-hmm.
and he said he probably would use it, but I don't know what it costs.
Yeah, the company is Driscoll's. Is it Driscoll's? They're in Watsonville. I don't know what percentage of our US produce comes from this area, but I just feel like shame on them for being such a terrible example. And, you know, the berry industry in general just is, they are the leader and they have an opportunity. Oh, Sambrayo. Okay, so I think it's SAMB. Let's see, Sambrayo. I think, let me see. I'm gonna look really quick. Here's my little show and tell. I guess my camera is gonna give me trouble again, but this is can be pulled out or it can be not used. Actually, this is a mushroom container. There's a company called Far West Fungi that uses this. But anyway, so it's the company name isn't on here, but the name, well, maybe it is. Nope. They just put the name of the product, which is Ready Cycle, all pushed together, READYCYCLE. And oh yeah, somebody found it already. Thank you, Suzanne.
You're
Well,
welcome.
A lot of
But
these
yeah,
are,
it's
a lot of these are compostable boxes, though. They have a plastic lining.
this one does not.
You
So
sure of
this
that?
one is unique in that there is no plastic lining.
No, you don't see the plastic.
No, this one really doesn't have it.
You sure? 'Cause a
Yeah.
lot of things they say are wood or compostable have a lactic acid vinyl layer to make it moisture proof and grease proof.
I
It's
mean, I will look
impregnated,
again.
impregnated into the paper.
Or a PFAS.
I was told by the company that they don't. I mean, I spoke with someone on their marketing team actually, just because I was going to be on a podcast and wanted to mention them and wanted to make sure that I had my facts
Okay.
straight. So
Well, it may be. With
I don't
mushrooms-
know. I
with
mean,
mushrooms that are already dried, you might be able to get by with it.
yeah, so maybe they have different products that do have a lining, but the ones that I've seen don't, because then we see them in some of the grocery stores and the farmers markets in or locally, but I just feel like, you know, why doesn't Driscoll's just use this? They could change. I mean, I don't know. I just hate those clamshells so much.
Do people know to be wary of compostables, of even things with linings? That the like BPI certification is not legit, unfortunately? Are people aware of that?
So I mean, this was like a year ago that I found them, and so now I'll check back in. But to my understanding, these were backyard compostable, not commercial compostable, because that's also a sticking point in our area. We don't have a reusable foodware ordinance. We have an ordinance that requires commercially compostable to go where, which is just as bad, if not worse, than whatever we were doing before. So, my understanding was that these were kind of a unique product, but I don't know. I don't know. How do we fact check that, Suzette? Do you know? Like, is there?
I think we asked Stephen.
Well, are you talking about Ready Cycle in particular? Or you-
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
can't speak for all the products because yeah, I've seen a lot that are plastic lined, and that's not what I'm looking for. I mean, that's why we did the reusable coffee cup campaign, and we even soaked a coffee, you know, a to-go coffee cup overnight, and within 24 hours, that whole liner will come out like a plastic bag. And when people say, "Oh, I'm drinking my coffee out of a plastic bag," you know, yeah, as soon as you pour hot coffee in there, you're drinking tens of thousands of particles of microplastics. So not only if you are really a coffee snob, you should be drinking it out of a durable cup, but you're drinking microplastics and you're creating a nightmare of trash. So we tried not to go down the rabbit hole of health only because people tend to shut down when you bring up too many things. So we've just focused on the waste aspect of it and the statistics of how much it got worse in our area. So
Well, what I was getting at is that a lot of people get what's called BPI compostable, or even there's one called TUV Austria. Those are the two certifications that many groups, many vendors look for when they're looking for compostable foodware. And I look deeply into, I don't know if other people have done this already, but I look deeply into the regulations, what they call the ASTM standards. And what the rules that I found said that, first of all, something is considered biodegradable if it breaks up to the point that you can't see it with your eyes. So that is certainly not an indication that it is returning to a material that's safe for the soil. The other problem is that when they say they don't have any PFAS in them, they're saying when you dig down deep, what it says is that they can't have more than, let me see if I'm going to get the units right. It has to have fewer than 100 parts per million, no, parts per billion, I think is what, parts per billion in solids, right? And I know from looking into the sludge, like a biosolids issue where I live, we're usually looking at levels below 20 parts per billion. So if the compostables have up to 100 parts per billion, that's 5 times higher than what the current general standards are. So, I think these standards, these compostability standards were written, I don't know, as like you were saying, Stephen, 5 or 10 years ago, and they really haven't caught up with the science. And so I'm fighting this battle all over the place where people are like, oh, our stuff is compostable. I'm like, you're spending extra money on buying things that are not actually bad for the soil.
Yeah, and then that 100 parts generates millions of parts of nanoparticles, which are the ones that actually enter the cells. So it's a standard that's way too generous. Let's put it that way. It's very hard to make something that stops wettability or grease transfer without using plastics. The only thing that we have, which is an ancient one, is the bamboo steamer, which you can use over and over and clean over and over.
What
But
about
that
what
doesn't
about
work for-
beeswax? What do you think about beeswax?
Well, beeswax is very hard to degrade as well. It can, but it's not easy.
Do you think is that unsafe for having that in the soil, for example, for agriculture?
I haven't seen anything that says it isn't, but I haven't really gone very deeply into that. So I'm going to punt on that one.
Of course, that not PLA stuff that's made out of seaweed does seem to have good potential for this. So
Yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with what's going on. You're a microbiologist too, I assume, or chemist. There's outfits now that are re-engineering microbial enzymes to break down some of these plastics.
yeah, right. But I think those are pretty small scale, right?
Well, there's an outfit in California, a couple of women that are doing it with rayon. They're producing rayon with stabilized enzyme systems. And they got the enzyme from a bacteria that they re-engineered one particular part of the enzyme so it will attack the ester bond and take it apart. But then the stabilization systems are plastic themselves. So who knows? Anyway.
Yeah, it's hard. It is very hard.
I dropped in the chat our fact sheet about bioplastics, so it'll give you a lot of good information there about why they're not a great alternative. And Trish, I think it's hard for all of us. Like, we want to believe that some packaging is checking all the boxes of what we want it to, and it's hard to find all the information you need on websites to verify one way or another, but that gives you some good facts in one place. Anyone else before we wrap up for the night? Well, we appreciate everyone being here, especially sharing what you're working on and some of the challenges, and love the fact that everybody can exchange good information. So thanks for coming and have a wonderful rest of the week, and we'll see you next month. Oh, our webinar tomorrow night, if you haven't signed up, sign up. It'll be a great one. Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
See
Suzette.
you. Bye.